I mean, there you are watching from the West Coast, and there you are doing poli-sci, and then you go to National Theatre School. But when the theatre when it launched with the energies in the 1960s and early 70s, it was all about the art, and it was all about the social comment, right? And so the expectations at the beginning of Canadian theatre were it's going to be the art, right? We're going to have the Shakespeare Festival, and we're going to do Mamet and all Fenario and all these really edgy, pushy plays. We're not going to, yeah, Mirvish can go and do that song and dance stuff. But that was the way we kind of started, right? The regionals were expected to do, do a classic, and then you do whatever, and then you do a whatever Shaw, and then you do. The expectation wasn't that you could put on your jeans and just come out and have a good time. And that kind of didn't last long, did it? It kind of ran out of gas.
I was very conscious that it shouldn't run out of gas. So I think part of the success of the Arts Club is like what I said, in the beginning of our conversation about reinvention. So once we had Seymour Street, and once we had the opportunity of Granville Island, and once we had the Granville Island theatres going, then during the 80s particularly, when there was a lot of excitement in the theatre community itself, the larger theatre community in Vancouver, a number of companies got started in the late 70s and 80s. There was a couple of venues like the Vancouver Cultural Centre that opened up that were theatre companies could perform in. So there's quite a bit of energy. And Studio 58, and like the National Theatre School, pouring out young, eager, actors and theatre types really helped the ecology. So during the 80s, it was sort of making sure that our company, the Arts Club Theatre Company, was offering something that was different, but at the same time not threatening in any way, that was welcoming, was part of, that somebody would, when they thought of Saturday night, what should we do? Let's see what the Arts Club is, what show the Arts Club has on. Because usually our experience of going to the Arts Club is enjoyable or fine, or it's a great evening. So that is what really kept us going. And then looking at how do you continue to attract a new audience is when I started to really get interested in supporting young playwrights like a Morris Panage or a John Lazarus, and people that I felt could be bringing different ideas to the theater, apart from, whatever was the popular play on Broadway or whatever.
And you went that way to attract audience, or to refresh a mandate, or?
I think to be part of the mandate, to definitely, not necessarily refresh, but part of the reinvention, that the Arts Club Theatre Company would also become known as a place for new work, that, the young playwrights could come and send me whatever they were working on, like David King or whatever, and I would be interested in it.
So let's ask about it, maybe a bit of an awkward question, because when you started off, you're saying, I'm getting no government grants, I'm beholden to no one, it's my play box and I follow my instincts. At a certain point, you would start to get Canada Council funding, and you would start to get BC Arts Council funding, and from those public funding agencies, there would be an expectation of what the money resulted in, would there not?
Well, certainly from the Canada Council. I mean, the Canada Council made it quite clear partway through the 80s that they were supporting Canadian work. I mean, they made that very clear. And I think maybe the timing was such that I felt, I should be exploring new work. I should be supporting young playwrights. I shouldn't just be doing the latest Broadway hit or whatever.
Where does that should come from?
The shift?
The should. You said you should be.
That I felt that's part of what our mandate. It's not like it was changing the mandate, because right away from the beginning, you mentioned David Fenario. We did David Fenario in the 70s. David Freeman in the 70s. Michel Tremblay. So it's not as if we were not looking at work by Canadian playwrights, but I was not necessarily helping to develop work by local playwrights. And that is something that I mean, the first big hit we had of a new play was Talking Dirty by Sherman Snuko in 1981. And that, again, ran at Seymour Street, ran for a couple of years.
Great title.
Great title. And an entertaining piece without being, you know, too kind of Neil Simon-esque. You know, it had a, it really spoke to the Vancouver audience, and because it was set in Vancouver. And that, you know, that kind of, the fact that that play was popular, and then we did Anne Mortifee's Reflections of Crooked Walking, a big musical, and it was popular. So I knew right away that, you know, if you found the right work, there was nothing stopping you doing original pieces.